Texas Governor Greg Abbott has ordered public universities and state agencies to pause new H-1B visa applications, a move he says is meant to prioritize jobs for Texans. The directive has raised questions about how it could affect higher education, research, and healthcare across the state. Joining us now to discuss the implications is Miriam Feldblum, co-founder and CEO of the President's Alliance on Higher Education and Immigration. Miriam, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thanks so much for having me.
You know, before we get into the whole conversation, can you fill us in on who is the Alliance on Higher Education and Immigration? It's a new group to me.
Wonderful. I'd be happy to. So we are an alliance of close to 600 colleges and universities from across the country, including in Texas, who have come together around the immigration issues that impact our students, our institutions, our campus communities, with the goal of supporting immigrant, international, and refugee students, graduates, and other campus members, and working to support a common sense, forward-looking immigration policy that will benefit our communities, our states, and our country.
So, Miriam, is that college presidents that we're talking about?
Thank you for asking. Yes, college and university presidents and their institutions, public and private, all different kinds.
Not the president of this country.
Not the president of the country. The apostrophe is after the S.
Yes. So with that in mind, this policy that came out from Texas Governor Greg Abbott about pausing these H-1B visa applications, your concerns, thoughts, maybe even excitements about it, where do you fall on this?
Sure. And here's what I would say is that we know that America needs domestic and global talent. It's not an either or proposition. It's a yes and proposition. We need to support domestic talent, which also includes our immigrant populations, and global talent, international talent, who often come through our colleges and universities as international students and scholars, but then directly benefits our communities and states and country. So speaking specifically about the higher ed sector, we know that part of what has made U.S. higher education the best in the world is that we've been able to attract the best people for the positions, which benefits the students, the campus, the state, where the institution is located. So Texas has benefited greatly from international students, scholars, and professionals, both on campus and beyond. And diminishing that ability to recruit and attract global talent will harm economic growth and innovation opportunities in Texas in the short and long term.
Well, Miriam, correct me if I'm wrong, the H-1B visas are for researchers, doctors, professors. I mean, these are high-end, well-educated people that come into our country on an H-1B visa. And to put that against the governor saying, we need to make sure those jobs are available for Texans, okay, but nobody at this table could fill those jobs, I can tell you that. I mean, these are sorry, Ernie, these are high-educated people, highly educated people for these jobs. So what gives with the governor thinking that there are a bunch of Texans lined up and not being treated to these positions?
It's really important to state it just as you did, because in fact, President Trump did so as well. When there was some concerns around H-1B visas, he said, not everyone can fill it. It's not like we can just line up anyone on the street to fill jobs. Mm-hmm. So these are specialized. The H-1B visas is a temporary non-immigrant work visa for professionals, usually with a bachelor's degree or higher, and that you need that degree for that position. And for some positions, it's very clear, right? If you think about doctors or engineers or chemists, but this is also linguists, librarians, geologists, and more. And with all these positions, I would say that what we find is that it is both looking to support domestic populations, right? Yes, great if there are Texans, but what we know about doctors is that there's a shortage. What we know about STEM fields is that there's a shortage. And who's helping to drive our workforce development, drive entrepreneurship and research and innovation? It is international students, graduates, and professionals.
And to just follow up, almost exactly what Frank just asked, but flipping it so that you have a chance to say it this way. Is there a surge of these type of candidates for jobs out there that cannot find jobs today that are American talent?
What I will say is this, is that what we find in the job markets is that these are job markets with very low unemployment and a need for more supply. So what the research has actually shown is that recruiting international professionals through the H-1B pathway and other pathways actually leads to more jobs, more patents, and more opportunities for domestic workers and the U.S. economy. So that's really important. In the short term, restricting opportunities for international professionals will lead to job shortages in key fields, or also will lead to colleges and universities in Texas probably not getting the best person, their top candidate that they may want for the position in some of these searches. And over time, these barriers, these restrictions will reduce opportunities for all American workers and undercut our innovation.
You know, Miriam, Texas is one of the top states in the country for H-1B visa holders. I believe it's California is actually number one, having the most H-1B visa recipients in their state. Can you give us, though, a concrete example of the impact? When you say, you mentioned more jobs, what does that actually look at based on the amount of H-1B visas that are given out? And if we're looking at pausing any more future ones, give us some numbers that we can really understand the impact.
Okay, that's a great question. Let me shift it a little bit and talk about the importance of international students for public institutions. Mm-hmm. So what the research shows that for every one international student that a public institution enrolls, that enables 2 domestic students to enroll. And the reason why I go back to the international students is that the H-1B visa is the most common work visa for international student graduates. So what's happening is not just the immediate impact, but what it's also going to do is reduce the attractiveness of Texas colleges and universities for international students, both to come study in institutions in Texas, but also to continue working in Texas. It's going to reduce those individuals coming to Texas and creating jobs, creating new industries. I mean, just think about the fact that Elon Musk held an H-1B visa, right? Went from being an international student to an H-1B visa holder. So I think that it's important to kind of think about it both in the immediate, but also to recognize that this has long-term implications.
We are speaking with Miriam Feldblum, co-founder and CEO of the President's Alliance on Higher Education and Immigration. If you would like to join the conversation, you can call or text 713-440-8870. We do have Cosima for Kingwood on the line. Cosima, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question?
Who have worked in many companies throughout Houston over the years. Anecdotally, I do want to say that I've seen that the H-1B visa program has been utilized by corporations to get their staff at a much lower rate, and it caused me and my colleagues, U.S. citizens, to have that extra competition. We would often not be able to secure a position or had to go at a lower rate. And I just wanted to say that I also noticed that it wasn't higher professional staff, at least in the software development field. Anyone could get these positions. They weren't necessarily super experts. So I'll take your comment off the line. Thank you.
Cosima, thank you very much for that. Miriam, do statistics uphold what we're hearing there?
So I want to say 2 things. I think it's really important to listen carefully and seriously to all the concerns that individuals have around, here's how I experienced, what happened to me in my company. What I can say is that for colleges and universities, There is a process for applying for an H-1B visa, and this applies to all employers, in which you have to demonstrate what is going to be the salary levels, right? Why does this person qualify for this job, and in what ways is it a specialized occupations? What is true is that while most, if we think about international graduates, most are pursuing H-1B visas in STEM fields, it can apply to any field in which a specialized degree is necessary.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting comment she had, though, that there are at least corporations that take advantage of this to hire someone for less money, and then the people doing that job either have to lower their salary to match it, or they get pushed out altogether. Maybe not at the university level, but it does happen. So maybe that's where I guess the governor is. We're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. The governor is trying to protect these citizens here, and also it's going to affect the other ones.
Right. I think it's the wrong solution for the wrong problem. Right. I think that you want to have programs with integrity, and let's go after how we do that, and not to eliminate programs that hurt the economy and the chances for everyone in the community.
So then I have to ask, Miriam, we do have a caller waiting on the line, but then I have to ask simply, then what is the solution? If you have concerns around organizations, companies from a corporate level taking advantage of the H-1B visa, or you have employees locally, local talent that's saying, hey, wait a minute, that H-1B visa is also bringing in competition and, lowering the wage for local talent. What then is the solution if it isn't for the governor to say, we're going to pause this program because we need to really look at it?
Yeah, and I think, again, what's missing there is that there already have been reforms and reviews of the program also at the federal level. In fact, the previous administration was also working to improve the H-1B visa program in terms of its processes and integrity. Overall, this is an essential program for the U.S. economy and for our industry and research and innovation.
Let's go to one more call. We have one more call, and we're running out of time. Let's go to Mahendra from Clear Lake. Mahendra, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you so much for taking my call. Yeah, I just want to give you a quick background. I was also on H-1B visa. I came here on H-1B and then worked for the state of Texas for a government agency, and then moved on. And now I'm, citizen and all that. But exactly, I wanted to say the same thing that you kind of touched earlier. The proclamation or the way that governor has done it really does not address the issue at all, not even touch it. Because the real problem is in the private sector. It's absolutely not in the government or state agencies or universities. A lot of fraud on H-1B is happening in the private sector, where like companies like, I don't want to take any names, but big tech companies, they use these body shop companies to kind of hire, people, so-called tech skills, and pay them really, really low wages. And so that's where exactly all the fraud is happening, where they're, basically hiring these people here, but they're working in Bangalore, India, or in Thailand or somewhere else, and they're getting paid much less wages than an American would get here. So this one that the governor has done, it really does not address the private sector issue. And most of the H-1B fraud happens in the private sector. Very, very, very little fraud happens in the government or agencies or universities, because they are bound by state laws and their wages are published and decided by the legislature. So,
Mahendra, thank you for your call. Miriam, your reaction.
Absolutely. And I would say the current administration has also made some changes to continue to refine and to strengthen the H-1B lottery system, which is where those individuals would come through. Colleges and universities are exempt from the lottery system. And absolutely, let's continue to address the specific issues. But bottom line, if we want to lead in research, innovation, and industry, and retain our competitive edge, then we need to attract and not discourage global talent, which is what this does.
Miriam Feldblum is co-founder and CEO of the President's Alliance on Higher Education and Immigration. Miriam, thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you so much for having me.